You sang in the church, as I understand it. Right?
Salem Methodist Church, yes. That's where we call her Aunt Mamie up here in New York. When we say it might be my mother. She put me in Salem Methodist Church, and I was a member of the choir. I was also in the plays. And I remember I did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And my aunt was not, or my mother, whomever we want to call her. She was not a person to hold you, never, or hold me and say, oh, you know, you wonderful child. Nothing like that. But this wonderful day, after I finished the play, she came to get me. And this lady walked up and she put her hand on my left shoulder. My aunt was very tall. And she looked up at her and she said, your child was born with the hand of God on her shoulder. I never forgot that. And I think from that day on I felt I was protected from somewhere or the other. And if I did a good job, somebody would want me.
Was it at that point that Eartha Kitt started to evolve? No?
No, she was still Eartha May, because my aunt... Now I was thinking to myself, now she would realize that I'm worthwhile. She doesn't have to give me away, because now I'm earning my love and affection from her. But she didn't say anything. So we started walking back to where we were living on 137th Street. And I thought she would take my hand, hold me, and say something in an affectionate way, but she never did. Never did.
But you must have had some sense that she was proud of you.
No.
No.
Never. She never gave me that feeling until the day I was going with the Catherine Dunham Company to Paris.
But all of that time...
Thank you, Carlo.
Through all of the...
even up to that time, before I went off and decided I had to get out of there, there were things that were leading up to that point. But we were on relief. And the government gave us 5 pounds of apples a month, or 5 pounds of potatoes.
Or,
not both at the same time, no.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, this is already very funny. Mm-hmm. So I was sent from 137th Street down to what is this over here, York Avenue or someplace like that. That's like 5 or 6 blocks long, and then I don't know how many blocks this way to get there were apples that month. This man looked at me, he said, you look like a very strong little girl. Do you think you can carry 5 pounds of apples? And then he said, oh, I think you're strong enough to take 2 pounds of apple, 2 5-pound bags of apple. And of course I could. Me thinking, so I take these 5. And of course I walked the whole distance while apples are everywhere. So I get back to 137th Street. Now, I expected my aunt to look at me and say, oh, you wonderful child. You are so strong to bring him. She'd have, you stupid kid. So, rather than being rewarded, I was punished for trying to be brave and helping.
Now, how did Eartha May from the country learn all of the different skills as far as talent, entertainment is concerned, in terms of the singing, in terms of the dancing. How did you manage to learn that so that you could take advantage of the opportunity when it came to you?
Because every opportunity that presented itself, I said, oh, I can do that. It's like trying to take 10 pounds of apples. I can do that.
But from the point of being so sick that you had to crawl to the door to listen to Bojangles and the Nicholas Brothers, how did you get to be this young woman who...
Because you're taking all of that in. I was like a sponge. Still am. You're like a sponge. You want to belong. You want to earn your way. And therefore you pick up everything that comes your way like a sponge. And you use it. At least I did. So I didn't have to think in terms of, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. When the opportunity presented itself, I grabbed it. And whether I could do it or not, I still tried. Because when I realized that I was in my aunt's way here in New York, and I thought I had to get out of there. I was getting jobs in the summertime after New York School of Performing Arts that I was going to. And she would give me, 25 cents for lunch that would last maybe 2 or 3 days, because 5-cent sandwich or something like that. I would save up my little pennies. But there were times on Thursdays and Fridays, maybe Friday or Saturday, there was nothing, and I didn't have any money, and therefore I didn't have any lunch. So then I had to depend on putting myself in a position of my friends to have them invite me to their house to get a bite of food. So I realized I had to really get out of there, because I was making her feel that I was now a responsibility for her. So I was getting my little jobs here and there, trying to take care of myself. And I had a job, I think it was in Brooklyn. I don't remember whether it was Brooklyn or the Bronx, but anyway, it was one of these areas of Manhattan. And it was a job of filling the bobbins in this big machine, sewing machine, that we made emblems for the boys in the war, or we made half of the machinery factory was making lace. And our job was to take the flashlight and go up and down these machines and look and see if the bobbins were still full. And I was always singing, Babaloo, Aja, imitating everybody in my neighborhood, you know. And so I was always amusing the kids. Still, I don't know if I was coming out of my shyness at that time or not, but I must have obviously been, because the kids thought that, she was very entertaining and I could make everybody laugh, and they would talk to me and then treated me like one of them, because most of them were Spanish kids, Puerto Rican, Cubans. And one day, as my feeling was always that if the sun is shining and the sky is blue and the birds are flying and the buds are budding, I want to be there. So I was in Central Park, having a wonderful time with myself, watching the birds and the bees and the budding of the trees. And I thought, I want to go to the movies. And so I went down to the factory. This was a Saturday. I went to the movies. I wanted to go to the movies. I went to the factory and I told the man that as I'm getting my 2 little pieces of money in this little envelope, the kid said to me, "Oh, Kitty, you're going to get fired. You never hear on a beautiful day. You're so romantic, Said, I don't care. One of these days I'm going to join the Catherine Dunham Ballet Company and I'm going to go around the world." I had just seen Dunham in stormy weather, with those beautiful legs going up in the air. And she was my color. So I felt an affinity towards that. So here I am, imitating what I had heard in the neighborhood, like Spanish kids and all of this, Babaloo and all of that. And it was also, who was it that sang, Jelly, 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 jelly is on my mind. Jelly roll killed my... I was imitating all this, So the kids were saying, "You're going to be fired." And I was saying, "I don't care. I'm dancing up and down the aisle of this factory." So the man comes to me and he hands me my envelope and he says, "You're fired." "I don't care." And I leave the factory singing or imitating whatever I had heard.